Oh boy, oh boy. Today we're gonna do some photo editing. This is Caelin. This channel's been not very active for a while now, but I decided I kind of wanted to get back into it as I've been doing more photo shoots and learning more about Photoshop and such. So today we're just gonna go through some photos from recent shoot. We're gonna start with some that I've already developed, which are these down here, and I'm gonna pull them into Photoshop, do some basic touch-ups, show you guys kind of what I do in my process. And then maybe go through the whole process of sorting through photos, choosing the good ones, etc. So this was a shoot I did on Sunday. It was pretty simple, only two strobes. I used my 70 to 200 2.8 here, and a 50 1.2. So I'm just gonna go into Photoshop here. Let's let that load up. There you go. So I have an actually to separate my photo into colors and textures. So for those of you who don't really edit a lot of photos, when you're editing photos, it's best you separate your main photo into a layer of texture and a layer of color. So if I separate these, you'll see this texture layer is kind of an outline here of just all the edges and the textures in gray. So you can see like kind of some skin pores here start to pop up, and that's because you're just getting your textures right. Then your color is just a layer with some Gaussian blur on it. And when you combine these two, with this top one being linear light, this bottom one just being normal, you get the actual regular photo. So if I switch between my two separated layers and the regular photo, see they're exactly the same. Yeah, so first thing you generally want to do is just some skin retouch. So as you saw in your texture layer, right, there's a lot of kind of skin pores here. So what I do for that is I get my stamp tool over here. Just want to sample your current layer. And I just normally source from kind of the side, and I just paint over some of those areas of skin, right? So you don't want to overdo this, because you can get a really, really weird looking skin look if you go a little bit too far on this. So you just want to kind of keep it light. You can also kind of get rid of some stray hairs here, which is what I'm doing. You'll see how I get, see daisies. You can get this really smooth skin complexion, right, if you sample from the right area. But you keep the colors because you have that color layer underneath. So you can fix your skin texture without worrying about overwriting colors. You can see like there's a pretty big difference there. I probably went a little too overkill, to be honest. I want to kind of keep it kind of lighter. So I'm gonna drop this to 50%. My opacity. Oops. Because you don't. I mean, if you go too hard on it, it looks like really, really just plasticky, kind of fake. Yeah, so it's best to kind of keep it light, keep it airy. Your opacity kind of low. Alright, the purpose of this is just to kind of fix any, kind of large indentations in the skin. These kind of pore lines. And this was shot on a 5D SR, which is a 50 megapixel camera, which you can see I'm getting a ton of detail here. So depending on your camera, you probably won't have to do as much of this simply because there's not as much, there's not as many pixels to have to fix. So let's go through here, get rid of some of this acne. Alright, so, I mean, you can already see there's a pretty big change here. So this is your before, this is your before, this is your after. So you can already see there's a pretty major change going on. And this is kind of the part that just takes a while, so if you're editing, you just want to put on some music and just chill, because it's not a fast process at all. And of course you can go faster, but then you sacrifice quality. And after going through all the work to get the shoot together, no way I'm sacrificing quality on this. So I'm also kind of fixing up some other parts of the skin and the clothing. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. This is our before, this is our after. Before, after. If you zoom in on the face, you can really see it. Before, after. So on this photo, I already did kind of some basic color correction. But you can see here is that this is my before, it's my after. And one noticeable thing I want to point out is on the eyes. What I recommend is using a brush. So this is my high saturation, high highlights, high shadows. This just brings out the eyes. Yeah, there you go. And then, oopsie daisies. And then this right here, this other brush. This is this is on the whites of the eyes. So just kind of bump the highlights on the whites, make the whole eye kind of pop out a little bit more. Right, back to Photoshop. Looks like there's one little thing we got to fix over here. Just don't want to change the face structure that much. There you go. And now for color. So in here, with color, you're just going to want to kind of even out the skin tones a little bit. That's normally what I do. I'm just going to work out here. Control Alt Shift G is a shortcut I set up for my Gaussian blur. But if you don't have that, just in filter, blur, Gaussian blur. So I'm just using the lasso tool to select a region. It's slightly feathered, and then using Gaussian blur to kind of even it out. So you can see what that's doing. If I crank it up a bunch, it's gonna get all weird. But it's kind of evening out your skin lightness. So in these regions of like really big change, I tend to want to kind of even it out a little bit, just so the face looks kind of normal. Yep, so that's pretty good. Before, after. So you see the skin tone gets kind of evened out up there. There's a few more things with texture I kind of want to do. So I'm going to use my blur tool. And I'm just going to blur out some of this texture a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit too much. Okay. Smooth that out a little bit. Let's use that stamp tool again. Pull from bottom layers. Oops. Get that same kind of texture going around here. That might look a little bit. That looks fine. Just have to wrap up those changes around the whole and all the skin. So you can see what's nice about this is I can keep the texture, right? My texture here. I can maintain that and the color at the same time. I don't have to be messing around with my stamp clone tool, trying to match colors and textures. It just makes this process a lot faster. So this is actually pretty heavy, a little heavier than I normally do. Kind of glossing out the skin almost entirely. Drop that opacity a little bit. So I did not start out this editing process thinking I was going for this look, but I guess I am now. Kind of screwed me over because now I have to do the whole thing. Yeah, there you go. Nice smooth skin. So the key is, if you are going for this look, you have to get the correct sample layer, the sample piece of skin first. So the kind of lighter parts of the skin tend to be smoother, just because they kind of blanket out all the pores and such. So if you're trying to pull from somewhere, that's normally the best place to pull from. But yeah, as I said, you don't have to go this heavy at all. This is like a pretty glam kind of editing style. It's definitely getting rid of a lot of the kind of facial features, which you may or may not want depending on your shooting style. Oh yeah, there we go. So you may be wondering, like, Caelin, like, yeah, what's the point of all this? And when you do shoots in the studio, unfortunately, even though the actual shooting is the fun part, oh, see daisies, the post production normally takes a lot longer. And you don't want to mess that up, right? It's like, what's the point of going to all the trouble of getting a studio, setting up your lighting equipment, getting your camera, taking the time to get really good photos, and then kind of just dropping the ball on the editing side of it. Oops. There we go. Smooth out the skin. Wow. Okay, that's a pretty glam look, but that's okay. Now we gotta move that down to the arms. Kind of getting rid of some of those hairs. So, I mean, it kind of is almost like you're blurring out in a way. Increase my brush size a little bit. Oops. And be honest, right, a lot of this stuff isn't super noticeable unless your image is super high resolution like this. So that's all for Canon. That's basically the 5D SR, or if you're shooting Sony, kind of that full frame range of 60 plus megapixels, which is way too many megapixels for me. But if that's your deal, that's your deal. Cool. Okay, so we got skin right now. Is there before or after? Next, I'm going to create a new layer for hair. Call this one hair. Pop that on the top. It's just easier to keep it all organized for me. And I'm going to do one more layer for eye correction. There's a little bit of too much red in there as eyes. So I'm going to come in here really small. Probably just use my burn tool. This I'm going to have to make sure midtones, yeah. Actually, okay, burnt is probably not the best one to use for this. Let's try just blending our colors. Lasso. Yeah, okay. Oops. Daisies. Or I guess I could just use a brush. Okay, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Because I'm probably just going to use clone, current below, and then just kind of draw out some of these veins here. Place it with white. Gotta fix some of it. There we go. Yeah, okay. This has a little bit too... You can also just use your brush. It's a little bit too white. Brush, drop the opacity a little bit. On the whites of the eyes. Yeah, that's better. That can look a little bit unnatural though. Yeah, like right here. Still a bit dimmer. Yeah, okay, there you go. Nice. So now we're going for hair. This time we can click that hair layer. This you can honestly just use your spot healing brush. It normally is pretty good with picking up kind of what to fix. It's a little bit faster. So I'm just kind of removing the hair strands. And for the more resilient chunks, the clone stamp tool works well as well. So this was partially on me actually on this hair. I probably could have fixed a lot of this in camera if I'd taken the time to actually look. So it's these kind of small details that a lot of the time you miss. Especially when shooting. Like if I'm shooting super fast, I tend to miss kind of this kind of stuff. So. Get the flyaways out. Yeah, see, so I kind of messed up there, so I'm going to move over the stamp tool now. That brush a little bit larger. Opacity 100. And you of course want to use a soft brush for this. I mean, that should be a given. Keep it soft. And a lot of this hair is just in the bokeh because I have such a small depth of field. So thankfully I can erase it. It looks like without any super major repercussions. But if all your hair is in focus, you may have to kind of shape the hairline a little bit, which is kind of what I did up there, which will take a little bit longer to do. So let's do that out. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. A few more flyaways. So the point isn't to like eliminate all the flyaways in the hair. Oopsie daisies, that was way too much. But just kind of keep it all in check. And that's up to your stylistic preference, of course. How much you want to actually change the hair. Right, okay. Just call this corrections. And let's group this. So this is our before, this is our after. So you can see it's a pretty drastic change. Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that might be missing here. We're looking all good down here. Go to the back. The eyes are looking pretty clean. The only thing I might think of is the lips. So if you want to go into your lip texture here, drop that. Oh, current. If you kind of want this look on your lips, let's see how that looks. Got some of these creases. Yeah, I'm liking that. Yeah, so this is like a very airbrushed look, which may or may not kind of fit how you shoot. And honestly, I'm still experimenting with a lot of stuff to kind of figure out what what my style is. So not too sure on this myself. Yeah, there we go. Stuff right here. Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay. Before, after. So we clean up all the flyaways. We have one. They look all good. Yeah, I'm liking that. So save that. So as you can see, that took 20 minutes for one photo. So it's a lengthy procedure. That's how it is sometimes. Okay, so it looks like we saved it. So recently, okay, there we go. It did work that time. So we got 2 of 2 here. So if I go out of this settings, you can see they're grouped. So this is my one that's changed. This is my pre. So I'm gonna mark this one as 6. Red is my export marker. Let me check sure. Yeah. And then yellow is my to Photoshop marker. So there's your before, there's your after. Put that in comparison, and you can see the difference. As you can see, the skin tone right here is cleaned up a lot more. Your eyes, the eyes get accentuated. Lips I kind of decreased. Skin tones are just a lot more blended in general, especially around here. The hair, got rid of a lot of the flyaways. And the eyebrows I cleaned up a little bit, but I didn't touch them that much. So, and I mean, these are all really, really tiny things, but you add them all together, and it obviously makes a pretty big change to the image. And as I said before, this is a kind of more airbrush style. So this may or may not kind of fit what you like shooting. So just take that in mind when you do that. But as you can see, it is 11:37 p.m. And I need to wake up early tomorrow. So I'm gonna end this here, end this journey tonight, and I'll probably kind of be streaming a few other of my editing fun experiences later. But if you actually ended up watching this, congratulations for making it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.